emphasize to everybody listening, that doesn't mean the evidence wasn't there. I can't explain why the prosecution in this case made the decisions that they made, but this was a very predictable outcome just watching the court case.
We are less than 2 minutes away, we are told, from the state attorney coming to the microphone and reacting to this. But I think if we can briefly, Joanne, it is worth making at least a statement about, does this speak to a larger issue of race in America and our perceptions of young black men who have a hoodie up and are walking through a neighborhood? Is it about the prosecution? Is it about this jury? Do we know?
Well, I think this is the reason why you need to make sure that juries are balanced more by race. I mean, you had, in this case, 6 jurors, none of whom clearly is a young black man who has had that experience of walking through a store and having people follow you around, or walking around just being yourself, wearing, you know, whatever it is you want to wear, and being seen as dangerous when, you know, the white owner of Facebook, the guy who founded Facebook, could go in a hoodie onto the floor of the New York Stock Exchange and not be seen as somehow thuggish or criminal. And I remind everyone that, again, you had a jury from Sanford, and Sanford is a very conservative, high level of gun ownership. 2 of these jurors were gun owners, and there was a fealty to the notion that a gun owner should be able to carry, should be able to concealed carry. There is that fealty to that notion in Florida, and a severe protection in the law for the discharge of a firearm in that state. Florida is a state that is essentially run by the NRA. The lobbyists for the NRA, people call them the de facto governor of Florida. It's a gun state. And if you discharge your firearm, you're going to get a lot of support in Florida. And if you cull a jury with no African Americans on it, you're not really going to get people who sympathize with the life experience of Trayvon Martin or his family. So I never thought you had a case that was built for the Martin family. It was never built to sympathize with their experience or with Trayvon. And the first time that the prosecution really brought home that emotional context for the death of this boy was in John Guy's closing. That's when he finally forced everyone to look at the emotional center of the case, which was a young man whose last act on earth, as John Guy said, was to try to get home. It was the first time the prosecution did that. And I think I'm with Lisa on, there were a lot of mistakes made, a lot of courses not taken, conceding Trayvon Martin on the top and George Zimmerman on the bottom. Sounds like a huge mistake in retrospect. Not litigating the notion of why did George Zimmerman get out of his car, which everybody talked about like every day, including on social media, but they didn't do it. So I think the prosecutors will go back and look at what they did, and they've got to find a lot of mistakes that they made, and you know what? They can't appeal. They have simply lost.
And Joy, to your point, there's a reason why African Americans are underrepresented, not only on this jury, but on almost every jury in America, and that's because of felony disenfranchisement laws, which means that convicted felons cannot serve on juries. And in some states, that's as many as 1 in 4 or 1 in 3 African American men. So across the board, African Americans are underrepresented on juries, and African Americans are overrepresented as defendants, meaning they're far less likely to get a jury of their peers. I just wanted to say that. It's not just this case.
And far more represented in incarceration. Even John Guy said.
We're going to go and listen to the state's attorney now, and we'll come back to Reverend Al. But let's listen to their reaction to the not guilty verdict in the case against George Zimmerman.
We are